Ladies and gentlemen, UFC 318 is coming to you in less than 3 days. We have Max Holloway taking on Dustin Poirier in the main event for the BMF belt and Dustin Poirier's final dance. We are going to be taking a look at the predictions and breakdowns. We are going to be starting off with the early prelims and ending with the main event. If you guys do enjoy this, make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you have not already. And without further ado, let's get into the early main card opener, early prelim opener, which is Carly Judice versus Nicole Cagliari. And now I'm going with Carly Judice. Her last time out against Eunice Dubin, she very much so increased her level of striking. It seemed when she was... Dubin is a girl who likes to get into the pocket and just kind of swing wildly. I was a little bit shocked that she did end up knocking out... who was it? Shannon Clark, the girl from Canada, who was a huge favorite in that fight and a huge prospect coming out of, I think, Niagara Falls? No, Alberta. There you go. She was MMA Barbie, and she's MMA no more. She is 6-1 after winning a split decision over Shani Bowers, but it was a little bit sketchy of a fight. And now you have Carly Judice take on Eunice Dubin, Nicole Cagliari after Eunice Dubin, who's just kind of on a roll. I mean, the Gabriela Fernandez split decision was close. The striking played a huge part in that. The Katascate fight, you're fighting a really good kickboxer. I can understand why she had a split decision there. But you're fighting Nicole Cagliari here, who is more of a weapon on the ground than she is on the feet. She did beat up a couple girls in the regional scene, but when you're knocking out girls in the regional scene who don't really have any hands whatsoever, I can't really rate your knockouts at all. There isn't anyone I don't think that she's gotten a knockout over that's actually impressive. The Lemfro Bois or whatever the fuck, Corian, or I don't know, again, I'm giving up on these names. I only pay attention to the names that are happening on this card, and I give up on the other ones. My brain just goes poof, gone into existence. I practice the names, and then they just absolutely get butchered. Katascate, again, split decision, lost to a kickboxer. And now you have Carly Judice, who's ready to implement her wrestling plan. She's ready to just ground and pound these girls into absolute submission. She loves standing and banging. And Cagliari, is going to be looking for the takedowns, but I do not think she's going to be able to get them. Carly Judice does have quite good takedown defense. She has been training it for quite a while. She does have 6 inches of reach. She will be on the back foot probably with Cagliari trying to force the pressure and trying to take her down. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Judice wins a unanimous decision. And if Cagliari is going to step into some of these shots, like she's been leaving her hands down after throwing some 1-2s and after eating some hand punishment of her own, Judice does throw nasty high kicks. I could see her getting dropped, but at this point, I don't think so. Carly Judice by decision is probably where you're looking at. Now, next on the prelims, you have Bruno the Hulk Ferreira versus Jackson McVeigh, who's making his UFC debut after being Mateo Garner, in the LFA. Did not win the LFA title, but is still making his way over to the UFC. A little bit questionable, honestly. He was supposed to end up fighting Christopher Eward, who was also making his UFC debut. Did not happen. You had Cedricus Dumas, who was supposed to take on the fight instead. Did not happen. Could not get a scheduled hearing to get his ankle monitor off, so he was not able to fight on that card. Now you're given Bruno Ferreira, and now your chances of winning your UFC debut have gone from 50% to 0. I don't think there's a world in which Bruno Ferreira loses this fight. Jackson McVeigh is very good. He's a very good finisher. He's very calculated in his approach. He has only round 1 finishes. Bruno Ferreira can take this into deep waters. He's a UFC vet, I would say at this point. He's been in the UFC since 2023, early in the year. He also knocked out Gregory Robocop Rodriguez, which was a huge win to have on his record. And now he's taking on Jackson McVeigh, who arguably is worse than RoboCop. Same size, same reach. I don't think he gets it done, though. I don't think Jackson McVeigh has the level of power that RoboCop does. And when you have a guy that's 6'4" standing against Bruno Ferreira, who's 5'10", and Bruno Ferreira is still a minus 650 favorite, there's something that you have to be aware of. And that's the fact that Jackson McVeigh, we haven't seen him take a real shot. He has not fought a guy that's willing to brawl like he does. He's never fought a guy that's willing to go into the fire, and when he's lit on fire, he stays in the fire. He doesn't give a shit. And Bruno Ferreira is one of those guys. We've seen the double spinning back fist. We've seen the double spinning elbow for Dustin Stoltzfus knockout with 10 seconds left. Armin Petrosian armbar in the second round where Petrosian just gets caught. Bruno Ferreira is a monster. This guy's very, very good. His submissions capabilities are just as impressive as his knockout capabilities. Granted, we see a lot of the knockouts instead of the submission games, but I think he's been coming into his own a little bit more. Abus Magomedov was able to get him in an arm triangle choke in the 3rd round after he was losing that 3rd round due to damage, I thought. Bruno Ferreira almost won that fight. Unfortunately, could not get to the bell. Jackson McVeigh, I just don't rate him yet. If he does win this fight against Bruno Ferreira, we have a lot more to talk about. But until then, we're going Bruno Ferreira to win this fight via knockout in under 1.5 rounds. Honestly, maybe even under half a round. I don't think this fight's going very long. I think if you blink, you'll miss it. Next on the prelims, we have Ryan Spann versus Lucas Bresky. We're going with Ryan Superman Spann. Last time around against Waldo Cortez Acosta, just a little bit, like, I guess, undersized for the division. He's fighting a guy who's 265 and just absolutely fucking jacked. Well, I say jacked. Waldo has a big fucking belly, but you know what I mean. He has the power, all the fat, all the weight behind him. He's just absolutely chucking shit into orbit. You know what I mean. I would say, yeah, we're leaning on the side of Ryan Spann by knockout. Lucas Bresky does have a win over Walter Walker, but he doesn't have a win over much else. He was able to get a couple wins in the regional scene, not even most of them coming by knockout or finish. He's just kind of one of those like mediocre heavyweights that's just kind of been surfing around the UFC for a little while. He is kind of just a can that they feed to people at this point. He really is a sheep in the water. And now you have Lucas Bresky, who's trying to make his way somewhere in the win column for the UFC. He's trying to get somewhere to where he can, you know, at least be proud of where he is in the UFC. And at this point, I don't think you're going to get there. You have Ryan Spann dealing with crazy power from a lot of guys, and now Ryan Spann's going to be able to just deal it out on this guy. Lucas Bresky's undersized for the division, should not be a heavyweight, should be a light heavyweight. I know 100% he could cut the weight if he wanted to, and if you're going to stay at heavyweight like that, you got to do some lifting, you got to do some weight training, you got to try and get your weight up to around 250, 260, because what's the point? You're going to sit at 230, and these guys who hit you once are putting you out because you just don't have the capability to stand with them. You don't have the capability to take that punishment. You don't have the capability to take a punch from a guy who's fucking 35 pounds heavier than you. And that's what you're seeing right here. But I'm going to go with Ryan Spann. He did submit Ovin St. Preux. Granted, Ovin St. Preux is 41 years of age. He was able to knock out Dominic Reyes, which I rate highly, seeing as Dominic... Well, at that point in his career, I guess Dominic Reyes did not feel very good about himself. He did not feel very good about his position. He was kind of just on track to just lose everything, and now that he's bouncing back, hindsight 2020, you know, it's pretty impressive, that win. But losing to Waldo's a problem. Losing to Bogdan's a problem. By the way, losing to Bogdan and getting screamed over after you get knocked out is fucking crazy. Anthony Smith, split decision loss. I don't know, man. Those are big problems. Those are giving me a lot of fucking red flags, but Lucas Bresky is not much better, and I don't think he is better. I'm going to go with Ryan Spann to win by knockout in under 2.5 rounds. I think this might go a little bit deeper into the waters than you'd think it does. Seeing as Ryan Spann's questioning himself at this point, every time he throws a punch, he's literally just throwing questions into the air. This guy doesn't want to be punched anymore. Every time he takes punishment, he doesn't look good. And Spann can't really take a punch all too well, so I'm a little bit worried for him, but I think he gets it done against a Lucas Bresky who's on his way out and who's 9-6 in his career. Come on, bro. What are we talking about here? Jimmy Crute and Marcin Prachnio next on the prelims. We're going to go with probably Jimmy Crute. I mean, I really want to pick Marcin Prachnio, but only beating Devin Clark and William Knight in your last 4 years is not exactly something to be proud of. Like, Devin Clark is absolutely horrendous. He's never even won a really good fight in his life. Da Woong Jung maybe is his best win, but even then, you're fighting guys who are basically just fighting each other. Marcin Prachnio and Jimmy Crute, William Knight and Da Woong Jung, all the same fucking people. We're just rotating out. Change the fighter and put in a new one. You still got the same fucking matchup that happened 5 years ago. Marcin Prachnio, 37 years of age, getting out of his prime at this point, a little bit slower. Last time around against Modestas Bukauskas was getting tagged up against the cage, threw a head kick from probably an inch away, and still was able to land it, which was absolutely fucking ridiculous. Jimmy the Brute Crute, he had a terrible fight against Adolfo Bellato. Like, a terrible fight. He basically got mauled in the first round, and Jimmy Crute lost. And then he came back in the second and third round. Oh, no, sorry, excuse me. Jimmy Crute came out of that first round and almost put Bellato out, won a 10-8 round, and then progressively looked like shit, worse and worse as the fight progressed. Did not improve whatsoever. Didn't change anything, just kept getting beaten up later in the fight. So it went to a split draw, I think. Was it a split draw? Or did majority decision draw? Which is a little bit weird. A lot of people felt maybe Jimmy Crute should have won, but I thought the draw was the right call. And now you have Jimmy Crute, who hasn't won a fight in the UFC in 6 years. His last win out is the last guy that Marcin Prachnio lost to. And you're dealing with Jimmy Crute, who's newly found God. He feels like this is his calling. He needs to, I don't know, do whatever for the fucking whatever. Good for you. If it's not Rodolfo Bellato in that fight, I do not think they survive. Rodolfo Bellato has quite good recoverability. This guy does get tagged quite a lot in his fights, and he does recover well. I do think he's still a can, and I do think he's kind of shit, but Rodolfo Bellato still does have some impressive qualities. He still does do really well when it comes down to late in fights. He does gas out, but he does have some sort of just zombie mode that he puts on, and he's able to get through it. He's able to walk through and able to at least achieve a decision loss or victory, whichever comes first. But Bellato usually does prefer to get the knockout. In this situation, Marcin Prachnio, I don't think would ever have survived the absolute brawling that Jimmy Crute threw out in that first round. I do not think there's ever a world where he gets out of that without, having some problems. And I think Marcin Prachnio, I think he's going to experience the same thing. Marcin Prachnio never really was able to make the breakthrough at heavyweight. He never was, or light heavyweight. He never got that win that threw him into the mix. Maybe the Khalil Roundtree win, but even then, Khalil Roundtree was still questioning himself. He never went to Thailand yet. And after that, he went to Thailand, started fucking absolutely mauling through kids. And just started working on that Muay Thai, making himself more exceptional as a striker. And at this point, dude, Marcin Prachnio, you're on the way out. You don't have your prime anymore. You're losing speed, you're losing mobility, and you're fighting against Jimmy Crute, who's 29 years of age. I'm going to go with Jimmy Crute to win by finish. I don't think it's going to be easy for him. I don't think it's going to be a wish-wash. Prachnio could cover 3.5 rounds realistically, but I'm not going to go with the guy who just lost to Modestas Bukauskas by arm triangle. It's not going to happen. A guy who's a fucking kickboxer and you win by arm triangle. It's just not going to happen. Jimmy Crute, I think he can win by submission. I think Prachnio is a little bit vulnerable. And I think Jimmy Crute, when he does, get his Kimuras and stuff, he gets them pretty quick. I'm going to say it probably happens in the first round. I guess we'll see. But Jimmy Crute to win via whatever means necessary. Next on the prelims, Adam Fugit versus Islam Dulatov. And I don't think this is a question. We don't even have to talk about this one much at all. Islam Dulatov will absolutely rip the shit out of Adam Fugit. There's nothing he's going to be able to do that will stop the fact that Islam Dulatov is going to knock him out or submit him in the first round. I don't think there is a world where Islam Dulatov gets out of this first round. I don't think there's a world where Fugit even sees his fucking hands the same again. I think this is going to rearrange his orbitals. Islam Dulatov's a problem. Islam Dulatov has all of his wins, except for one of them, inside the first round by finish. That's a fucking problem, dude. He's only lost one decision. That was the first fight ever in his career. His last fight out against Vanilto and Tunes, bro, that shit was crazy. That elbow was crazy. He was, as I was about to say, actually, a little bit of a red flag. Islam Dulatov, in that fight against Vanilto, it was 2:44 on the clock that ran off, right? So we had, 2 minutes and 15 seconds left inside the first round. After that knockout win, Islam Dulatov looked tired. He looked fucking gassed. Now, I don't know if that's because he just absolutely put everything out there to try and put this guy out. But if he did not get that knockout, he would have gassed so quickly in that first round. I'm not sure what would have happened in that second and third. It would have been a big problem. It would have been questionable. I would have had to see how Islam Dulatov does in the second and third round to start making some more accurate predictions. But when it comes down to it, Adam Fugit been knocked out in the first round before. He's been choked out by Mike Malott in the second round. And Mike Malott is a lot worse of a grappler, in my opinion, than Islam Dulatov is. Islam Dulatov is almost like Terrence McKinney. He's the best grappler in the world for about 45 seconds, and then he's not. But I think in 45 seconds he can tap Adam Fugit, who just has a lot of problems inside the UFC. He just gets choked out, gets beaten up, and every single guy that he ever beats is somewhat of a can. Islam Dulatov is not a can. This guy's legit, and we're going to have to see what he does with his newly acquired UFC contract. I'm very excited to see him. I think it would be a very, very fun guy to have in the lightweight division. Granted, he is so fucking big. I understand he doesn't get there. He's 6'3", but if he did get there, it'd be very interesting to see him against Ilia Topuria. Two absolute demons go against each other. And seeing what type of boxing affair that would be, because that just seems super interesting to me. Next on the prelims, we have Atiba Gauthier versus Robert Valentin. And now you have the largest betting favorite when it comes down to percentage-wise. Atiba Gauthier is going to knock out Robert Valentin. Robert Valentin against Ryan Loder was a problem. This guy got grounded and pounded it out. Torres Finney was able to control him for most of the fight. Valentin won the third round. Some people thought he won the second round due to damage. I did not think so. Gauthier in this position, 96% of everything that is bet on this fight is on Atiba Gauthier, and I believe 91% of that is on Atiba Gauthier by knockout. Look for Atiba to get a knockout early in round 1, maybe round 2. I do think this fight is not going over 1.5 rounds. I do think Robert Valentin has a huge problem inside this fight because the power of Atiba Gauthier is next level. He was able to knock out Jose Medina, and Jose Medina is a guy who's very, he's literally only known as a guy who soaks up punishment. He's only known as that. He's not really a good UFC fighter. Should have never made it into the UFC. But he has really entertaining fights because he soaks up damage. And they thought Gauthier was going to be able to take this guy for maybe 2 rounds and then knock him out. He knocked him out in the first round. Jose Medina could not deal with it. 3:30 on the clock, was drained, and Gauthier got the knee knockout. Robert Valentin making his UFC debut against Ryan Loder, getting knocked out. Torres Finney having his way with him, and now you have Gauthier, who's just going to knock this guy out early. Robert's going to force a takedown. He's going to try and shoot something, but I don't think it's going to even last that long. I think if he even gets to the ground, it's laughable at best. We'll see what happens, but I think Robert Valentin gets knocked out. I don't think he has the capabilities inside the UFC to fight heavy-handed guys, and when he fights the really good wrestlers, it just seems like he can't even get started. He's literally a guy who's known as the rear naked choke guy. He's known as the jiu-jitsu guy who grabs backs, and he can't even reverse a position from his back. He can't get a butterfly guard. He can't try and extend his hips. He can't try and push on the legs or the hips. He literally didn't do anything against Torres Finney. He got out of it later in the fight because Torres Finney was so gassed, but he really wasn't setting up a whole lot on from his back. I'm going to go with Atiba Gauthier to win by whatever means necessary. I'm going to go by knockout, probably round 1. I think Robert Valentin has some stuff to work on. I think he needs to work on the jiu-jitsu sweeps. I think he needs to work on the striking. I don't think he can hang with the best of the guys in the division. And when you're coming to the UFC, you have to be ready for the best of the division. That's what you're there to do. You're there to fight the best of the best, and he's not ready. So that's something to put down on your notebook, Robert Valentin. Next on the prelims, I don't think this one's very close, but a lot of people do. Francisco Prado against Nikolay Veretennikov. Now, this is the same guy who had a split decision with Danny Barlow. He gave Danny Barlow a lot of problems, and Francisco Prado is a guy who just can't get started. Prado's having a lot of problems even getting into, like, I guess, flow. You're having a problem with a guy. I don't know why either, because Francisco Prado, he showed a lot of promise in the regional scene. Otman Aztar knockout was insane, very good. The Jake Matthews loss gives me a little bit of worry. And the reason being, though, is Francisco Prado is really good. He's really good on his feet. He's really fast, and he didn't look that fast against Jake Matthews. He was leaving his head on the center line. He wasn't moving that well. He wasn't throwing multi-layered combinations. He was more or less throwing a 1-2 and getting beaten the fuck up by Jake, who was just piecing him apart and moving really well. Moving on the horizontal line and just making sure he circles him the whole time, gets away from that power side of Prado. And Nikolay Veretennikov arguably could do the same thing. He really could. He could just force a takedown if he wants. He did go to a decision with Michael Morales, which is super impressive. He doesn't take punishment super badly. He does actually look super good when he's fighting. And Francisco Prado's, I think, going to have a little bit of a problem with Nikolay kind of just mixing it up. Francisco Prado is 23 years of age. He does have a lot of ability. He's on American Top Team. He could have absolutely shifted the gears after that Jake Matthews loss. He could have. But from what I've seen and from what I know, I'm going to have to lay the chalk on Nikolay Veretennikov by knockout probably. Francisco Prado is just sits on the center line too well. If Jamie Malarkey's able to win a decision against him with his limited mix-up capability and his limited skill set, I don't know how much fun he's going to have with Nicolay. Nicolay is just really, really good at mixing up the stand-up. And if he does get this win, it's going to be a fucking problem. We haven't seen him get a really good win on in UFC yet, or at all. But Francisco Prado only winning against Otman Azatar is nothing to be, fucking up in arms about. This is the same guy who hasn't really gotten a real win inside the UFC. Kama Worthy is not even that good, and Timo Pakalin is absolutely dog shit. So realistically, this one's a proper 50-50. I do understand that these guys are kind of similar when it comes to the what's it called? The stance, and they're a little bit similar when it comes down to the game plan. But I do think Nikolay Veretennikov gets it done, or over 1.5 rounds looks pretty juicy to take. Now, we're going to move on next on the prelims. I don't have a whole lot to talk about Nikolay Veretennikov and Francisco Prado, because those two guys, they really, really do have the same skill set. They do have very limited mix-up capabilities. I don't really think they're very impressive, to be completely honest. When it comes down to 170, guys, there's a lot better. Listen, if Islam Dulatov fought Francisco Prado or Nikolay Veretennikov, it would be over in 15 seconds. So you're looking at a different level of welterweight right now that's coming up, and the different level of welterweight that exists now. You have Kamaru Usman still at the top of the heat. Hamza Chimaev, if he could make the weight, would still be at the top of the heat. The guy would be champ. Fucking Shavkat. You have a lot of problems at welterweight, bro. There's a lot of problems, and I don't think Prado or Nikolay Veretennikov could deal with any of them, to be completely honest. Next on the prelims, Marvin Vettori versus Brendan All-In Allen. Now, this is one of the ones that sketches me a little bit. I could really see Marvin Vettori winning this fight. He does fight guys a little bit weird. He does have a little bit limited of here. I'll prove my point here. Vettori stats, real quick. Okay, look at the stats in each fight. Okay, what has happened with Marvin Vettori? Right, he ups his strike count since early in his career. Ups it. That's also because he has 5-round fights, granted, yes. But even in the 3-round fights like this one against Roman Dolidze, he still won 106 to 71 strikes, right? So what are we looking at here? You're looking at 2 losses now in a row. You're looking at a Jared Cannonier loss because you lost, the later rounds. And you're looking at a Roman Dolidze loss because you couldn't win the first 3. You just couldn't. You won the first 2, I think, and then you just lost. Or the first one, and then you just lost. I think Marvin Vettori arguably is better in 3-round fights than he is in 5. I don't think he looks that good in 5-round fights because he manages his gas tank too well. He doesn't put out enough pressure, and he doesn't put enough power out there to actually give people problems. And then you have Brendan All-In Allen, who's just absolutely fucking ridiculous. This guy wins a split decision over Chris Curtis because Chris Curtis' legs explode. Loses to Nasruddin Imavov, loses to Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. Only having a win over Paul Craig and Bruno Silva in the last 2 years is a problem to me. It should be a problem to you guys. So I'm going to go with Marvin Vettori, the Italian dream, to win against Brendan All-In Allen. And I think the reason why they're picking Brendan Allen to win this fight is because of the submission capability of Brendan Allen and the fact that his ground game is so good, and the fact that Roman Dolidze was able to take down Marvin Vettori, so Brendan Allen obviously is going to be able to do it. You are in a 3-round fight. You are not in a 5-round fight. There is going to be different level of gas tank expended in this fight, and Marvin Vettori has a very, very good one. He's only 31 years of age, almost 32, and he's still coming into his prime. I do think he's still been improving. I do think he looks pretty good, and I do think he gets this win over Brendan Allen. Marvin Vettori's been working on his grappling for a long time. His hands are pretty good. He takes punishment incredibly well. He eats everything with absolute flair. He doesn't give a shit. He never gets submitted. He never gets fucking knocked out. This guy's just an absolute animal. Against Brendan Allen, you're going to need a submission against Marvin Vettori to win at this point, and I don't think Brendan Allen gets it. I think Marvin Vettori can outscore him in the first 2 rounds. I think Brendan Allen comes on strong in the 3rd round, but there's not a whole lot left. I think Marvin Vettori wins and moves on to number 10 ranked inside the middleweight division. Vettori will never be champ. He will never be a top 5, but he will be able to hover. I do think he's decent enough to hang around the baddest of the boys of the division, but I don't think he wins against them. I think he can just sit there and not get knocked out, but I think you start having some problems when you start getting to those big boys who are the champs and stuff, you know what I mean? Like Israel Adesanya, realistically, I think even now, even though he looks like shit, I think he still knocks out Marvin Vettori in a 5-round fight again. Even though he did knock him out last time, I think he's a little bit power hungry at this point, and he would look down for it. Nasruddin Imavov even will probably beat up Marvin Vettori pretty good, but I think Brendan Allen loses, and I think he loses comfortably. We're going to move on next on the prelims. Actually, this is the featured prelim of the evening. Kyler, the Matrix Phillips versus Vinicius Oliveira. And this is another underdog that scares me a little bit, especially because of his mix-up capability, but when it really, really comes down to the hands, I'm going to go with Vinicius Oliveira. Look Dog is a guy who's just been looking ridiculous recently. Even when he loses rounds, he takes from it and learns inside his corner. His corner tells him what to do and how to fix it, and he fixes it. He really does. He really does listen to his coach. He really does evolve his game plan around what's happening inside the octagon. He doesn't just go in with a limited mindset. He doesn't just go in with limited capabilities. He goes in knowing that he's going to have to do whatever it takes to win this fight. And if he has to switch up his game plan, he's going to switch up his game plan. Vinicius Oliveira consistently has made the trek to the third round mark and consistently has looked good inside the third round. He hasn't had a problem with his gas tank. I don't think he's actually gotten better as fights progressed, as far as I've been aware. And with Kyler Phillips here, after losing against Rob Font, I'm looking for Vinicius Oliveira to teach Kyler Phillips a lesson, really. I'm looking for Vinicius Oliveira to beat the shit out of him. I'm looking for Kyler Phillips to maybe fall apart. I'm looking for Vinicius Oliveira to throw some shots to the body, and Kyler Phillips isn't too comfortable anymore. He starts blocking low, and he gets tagged to the head, and he's blocking high, and he gets tagged to the body, and now he's down on the ground, and Vinicius Oliveira is ground and pounding him out. I can see that happening. I can see Kyler Phillips getting a little bit overwhelmed with the fact that Vinicius Oliveira doesn't back down. This guy doesn't back down. Even if you're Kyler Phillips and you land a good shot, even if you land that good shot that puts him back on his ass, Vinicius Oliveira will keep moving forward. This guy does not care about punishment. This guy doesn't care about what's happening. He's happy. He's excited to fight. He wants to be in there with you. He has nasty shoot-the-box skills. He has nasty Muay Thai. He has some pretty good takedown defense. He has really, really good butterfly guard. He's shown it twice in the Saeed Nurmagomedov fight. I'm excited to see what he does against Kyler Phillips, and I'm excited to see Vinicius Oliveira, Look Dog, actually look like a fucking dog. I think he's coming out here like an absolute animal. I think he comes out here and passes this test with flying colors. This is a weird test at bantamweight. This is, top 15 territory. You're trying to make a run at the title, and this is the question. Can you beat Kyler Phillips? Can you beat another guy who's hungry for that title? He has 3 losses just like you. Will you defeat him and move on to the top 10? Or are you going to start fighting the Mario Batistas, the Sugar Sean O'Malley's, the Piotr Jans? This will be the fight that figures that out. And Vinicius Oliveira, I think, passes it with flying colors and moves on to a more tougher test at 135. Give me Vinicius Oliveira to win by KO or decision at what is most likely at minus 160. Give me it all day. I love Vinicius Oliveira here, and I think he can pass with flying colors. Now we're going to start out the main card of the evening. If you guys did enjoy this, make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you have not already. We have Michael Johnson versus Daniel Zellhuber in the main card opener. I'm going to go with Daniel Zellhuber to win by knockout. I'm being 100% honest here. I'm not confident in this. I would really want to pick Michael Johnson to win by knockout. I do. My problem is Michael Johnson, whenever he fights guys who are super big and a little bit longer than he is, he tends to walk in the same way he does against the shorter guys, and he's not as quick against those longer guys. The longer guys are throwing up these shots from a little bit fucking closer in, and they're whipping it. They're whipping it pretty good. And Michael Johnson's the guy who whips all the way down, torques his whole hip, and then absolutely thrusts into everything that he has tried to put you out. Same thing he did to Ottman Azaitar. Same thing he did to, who's that other guy that he dropped? Dustin Poirier, yeah, that's who it was. Yeah, he just absolutely fucking slobber knockered him. Alan Patrick, too. But Alan Patrick's dog shit. But against Jamie Malarkey, he loses a split decision. Diego Ferreira was able to knock him out at, 37 years of age? 38? Yeah, that's fucking great. Daniel Zellhuber, very young, 26 years of age, a 13-year difference between the two. I think Zellhuber knocks him out. I think he gets into range and absolutely corks a right hand on his pretty fucking face. And I think Michael Johnson, gets put out cold, just like he did against Diego Ferreira. I would like to see Michael Johnson win this fight. He was winning the Diego Ferreira fight before the knockout. I think Daniel Zellhuber's a little bit on the questionable side. He was fighting Esteban Ribovic and basically got knocked out in the third round. He was most refs would have stopped that fight, but he was just getting held up by the cage, basically. Daniel Zellhuber made a huge mistake against Esteban Ribovic. Whenever he gets tired, he starts leaving his hands a little bit low, and he doesn't really care about the punishment anymore. He just wants to throw down. And he just doesn't want to... He just doesn't want to be tired anymore. And Michael Johnson's not a guy you want to lower your hands against. Michael Johnson's literally looking for you to lower your hand. He's looking for that right hand on you, and he's going to uncork it and everything else that he has on you in that moment. Daniel Zellhuber, I do think he's going to be able to win the fight. I do think in this situation he's just longer going to be able to keep him on the outside and keep Michael Johnson away from the stuff that makes him Michael Johnson, which is the inside pocket work and the dog fighting and the just brawling to see who gets knocked out. I'm going to go with Daniel Zellhuber to win by knockout. I would put a little bit of money on Michael Johnson if I was on the betting side. If I were you guys, I would lean towards the fact that Michael Johnson might be able to survive this, but it just doesn't seem so. Daniel Zellhuber is a really, really good finisher. He hasn't knocked out anyone inside the UFC yet, but I do think this is coming. I do think this is one of the guys that he could get it on, and I think this could be a highlight reel for Daniel Zellhuber. Or it could be a nasty fucking highlight reel for Michael Johnson. Either way, I'm excited to see that 155 fight. Now, next on the main card, Dan 50K Ige versus Patricio Pitbull. Give me Dan Ige all day. Dan Ige just knocked out Sean Woodson, who's, what, fucking like 7 inches taller than he is. Patricio Pitbull looked a little flat-footed against Yair Rodriguez. Didn't look like he had a whole lot that he was able to figure out. He did just get knocked out by Suzuki inside the Risen. And I think Dan Ige here does get another knockout. I think Patricio Pitbull's in over his head. I think when they're fighting in Bellator and they're thinking that the UFC is even similar, it's not even close, and I think they should know it's not even close. You're dealing with two absolutely major differences when it comes down to skill set. You're dealing with the fact that, you know, even Dan Ige is taking fights against high-level, top-tier opponents on 6 minutes' notice. This guy's literally taking on Diego Lopez the day of the fight. He's in the stands watching the fight with his family, and he goes to get ready for the fight. That's next level skill set. That's literally next level just dogness. And I'm going to go with the fact that Dan Ige has a full camp. Dan Ige's been ready for this fight. Dan Ige has 6 inches of reach. And Patricio Pitbull couldn't even do shit to Yair Rodriguez, let alone win a round. Give me Dan Ige to win by knockout or decision. I think he gets Patricio Pitbull in over his head, and I think he drops him with a nice right hook. Dan Ige, time and time again, has been one of the guys you can count on if you're a bettor, or one of those guys you can count on if you're a predictor. Or even fantasy. Dan Ige consistently has been a guy that you can really, really count on in the worst of situations. Andre Fili knockout, Sean Woodson knockout, Lerone Murphy fight, 1 round. Diego Lopez fight, 1 round. Bryce Mitchell controlled the whole fight. I can understand that. Movsar Evloev, gets controlled. And now you have Patricio Pitbull, who's going to try and do the same thing. He's going to try, he notices what works, and he's going to try and control Dan. It's not going to work. If we have clinches against the cage, Dan Ige is going to knee the fuck out of this dude, and I'm going to see one of the nastiest elbows I've ever seen from Dan Ige of life. I know it's coming. I know Dan Ige loves that elbow. I know he loves getting in that pocket. I know he loves dipping his head ready for that overhand right. Give me Dan Ige to win by knockout, and I don't think it's even close. Patricio Pitbull, he has 44 fights in his UFC career. Not enough. How about you get 20 more and then you can fight Danny Ige? Let's go. Next on the main card, Kevin Trailblazer Holland versus Daniel D-Rod Rodriguez. I'm going to go with the fact that Kevin Holland has just won 2 in a row. One against Gunnar Nelson, who's arguably one of the best division grapplers that the UFC has to offer. Choking out Vicente Luque with an anaconda choke, with Vicente Luque is good at. It's his own choke, and he got him in it. And then now you have Daniel D-Rod, who's just got 2 wins in a row. One against Santiago Ponzinibbio by knockout, and one against Alex Morono, split decision. Alex Morono, the white monkey, a little bit shitty, a little bit bad. I don't like him that much, but other people are fans of him. I think he's a little bit slower. I think he doesn't attribute that well to the UFC. I think he would have been better if he was in like Bellator or something like that. Alex Morono hasn't really been doing that well recently, only beating Matthew Semmelsberger. That's really of note. Court McGee, Tim Means are old as fuck. They're 40 years of age. Daniel D-Rod, I think it's choked out or knocked out here. There's no way this goes the distance. Daniel, time and time again, has had problems with getting submitted. Darce chokes are a big problem. And when you have a guy like Kevin, as soon as D-Rod shoots for a takedown, he's going to be looking for that choke. And I think, realistically, Kevin Holland's going to get a Darce choke on Daniel D-Rod. Daniel gives his neck up a lot. Kevin has super, super long arms. He is sitting with 7 inches of reach over the kid. And I think, realistically, Daniel's just going to be in over his head. This is just too tough of a fight for Daniel D-Rod Rodriguez. Kevin Holland's literally trying to fight 5 times this year. He's trying to make everything count. He's trying to see what the fuck is up this year. He's already had 3 fights. Will be his 4th. Maybe trying to make 6 like he did back in 2020. I'm going to go with the fact that Kevin Holland is just beating next level competition. He got choked up by Renier de Ritter, but Renier de Ritter is literally the GOAT of one, double champ. I thought Randy Ritter looked shit in his UFC debut against Gerald Meerschaert, but it is what it is. Yeah, he had a rib injury too against Roman Dolidze. Give me Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland when he's on. Kevin Holland actually at 170. If Kevin Holland was disciplined, if Kevin Holland didn't give a shit anymore, and Kevin Holland genuinely just tried as hard as he could instead of fucking around, smoking weed, shitting on the toilet, and talking shit on Instagram, and, you know, fucking around, eating like shit. If Kevin genuinely tried 100%, he would be champ. He would be champ. He has all of the skills to be champ. He has all of the skill set. He has the grappling. He has the submission game. He has the takedown defense. He has the jiu-jitsu. He has the striking from his back. He has the striking on top. He has the knockdown capability. He has the power. He has the stamina. He has literally everything you could ask for to be champ, and he just isn't. He's number 15 at welterweight at this point. After beating Daniel D-Rod Rodriguez, he will be 15 still, and he can then move on to a little bit better people in the division, you know what I mean? Who's at welterweight right now in the top 15? You have Vicente Luque, who he just choked out. You have Gabriel Bonfim, who he could beat the fuck out of. Wonder Boy, who I don't think he'd ever win against. Randy Rude Boy, not going to win against him. Colby, he'd beat the fuck out of. Jeff Neal would be a really good fight. Leon Rocky, excuse me. Edwards would be insane. Michael Morales could be good. Give me Kevin Holland to win by finish. And it's not even close. Start of the co-main event of the evening. If you guys did enjoy this so far, make sure to drop a like. We have Paulo the Eraser Costa against Roman Kopylov, and I'm going Roman Kopylov. Paulo Costa is not even looking for the UFC title anymore, and when you are not hungry for the title, when you're not making those runs and you're not hungry about being better, you're never going to win again. It's realistic. Paulo Costa only beating Luke Rockhold in the last 5 years is absolutely laughable. You have a guy who hasn't had a fight in, over 500 days? Or 300 days. It's 400 days? That's 420 days since he fought last. Ring rust will be real. Roman Kopylov last time around knocking out Chris Curtis with very, very little time on the clock to go. I believe it was 1 second to go on the clock if I'm not mistaken. Yep. Beat up Cesar Almeida. Lost to Anthony Fluffy Hernandez because of the ground game. But Paulo Costa is not going to be introducing any ground game here. Paulo Costa will be having to deal with the absolute perfect kickboxing that Roman Kopylov has. The high kicks are super quick. The 1-2s are very nice, and the 1-2 switch kick is very beautiful from Roman Kopylov, and I'd like to see him utilize that against Paulo Costa. Costa's one of those... I'm talking too fast, and I'm just stumbling over myself here. Paulo Costa is one of those guys that leaves his body open a lot. He leaves his body open to body shots and liver kicks all the time. You saw that in the Israel Adesanya fight. The liver kick was absolutely open 24/7. He never leaves his hands low, and he always tries to keep his hands up. He doesn't try and block the body kicks all that often, and I think he needs to do that if he's going to fight Roman Kopylov. If he doesn't block the body kicks early or stop the calf kicks early, Roman Kopylov is going to roll over this fight very early, and he will end up winning this fight in less than 3 rounds. I'm going to go with Roman Kopylov to win by decision. I don't think Paulo Costa gets finished that easily, but realistically, it can happen. This is a big problem. Roman Kopylov has a lot of power. He finishes most of the guys that he fights. He has 90% of his wins by knockout. Most of them come by round 2, and I'd like to see him just start, because what he does is he picks guys apart. He genuinely picks guys apart, and he slowly wilts them down until they give up. And I think in this situation, perfect guy to do it against. Give me Roman Kopylov to win by knockout or decision. I don't think that he wins by submission, and if he does, Roman Kopylov is a G, because I don't think the submission game of Roman Kopylov is anything to even fucking be worried about. There's nothing even there, except for a rear naked choke if you just give up your back. Paulo Costa is so trash. I don't know what to say anymore. He's on juice probably, but it's not going to save him from the fact that Roman Kopylov is going to knock him the fuck out. Next, we have the main card of the evening, boys. The main event of the evening. We have Max Blessed Holloway against Dustin the Diamond Poirier. I do think that Dustin the Diamond Poirier gets his forever farewell send-off. I think Dustin Poirier wins by decision. I think in this situation, a lot of people are overestimating Max Holloway after the win over Justin Gaethje and after the very impressive look at lightweight. I'd like to remind everyone that Dustin Poirier has already fought Max Holloway twice, and Dustin Poirier has already beaten Max Holloway twice. Won by decision a couple of years ago, and that was at lightweight. This is very similar. He is 36 years of age. Dustin Poirier is in his prime. He's exiting it. He's about to get on juice after all this is over. He's excited. He's excited to be done his UFC career. He's excited to be on the back end of it. He's excited to see what is different on the other side. And I think Max Blessed Holloway is going to have an unfortunate evening. I think Dustin Poirier at this point, I think he's just going to put it all out there. I think he's going to just do whatever it takes to win. I think, especially with his wife out there, his kids watching, his new baby boy coming, his daughter out there literally watching the fight. I think Dustin Poirier wins. And looking that good against Islam Makhachev, getting to the 5th round, it being 2-2 in my opinion in that 5th round, and you losing that 5th round because of the choke, I don't know, man. It's fucking close. It was genuinely really close. And I have to give Dustin Poirier the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give Dustin Poirier the chance and all the chances in the world. He's going to win. There's no way he goes out on a loss, especially against a guy he already won twice against. I'm going to go with the fact that statistics favor the guy who's won twice. I'm going to go with the fact that the statistics favor the guy who's making his UFC departure. I'm going to go with statistics on the fact that he's 4 inches of reach in advantage. Give me Dustin Poirier to win this fight via knockout or decision. I do think jumping the gilly would be one way to win the fight and one way to send himself off. 15-1 odds on the gilly if you want to take those odds, but I'm going to go with the fact that Dustin the Diamond has done what he's done best his whole career, and that is boxing. I think he will be able to piece up Max Holloway, and I think both of these guys will be down in the center of the octagon with 5 minutes left, and 5 minutes is decided. I think this is going to be a really close fight. I think Dustin Poirier wins and gets his send-off, and I think the retirement of the Diamond can finally start, and we can see a new MMA analyst in the mix, and that being Dustin Poirier. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you have not already. This has been the predictions and breakdowns. Again, if you guys do not realize yet, this is posted on both channels. We are starting a new MMA channel. It is called Bottom Feeder MMA. Make sure you go like and subscribe to that channel. I will be posting future MMA content on there. We have a little bit of a problem with the algorithm on the Bottom Feeder channel. We will come back to this channel at some point, but at this point, I cannot use it. It is a little bit too sketchy, and it is falling apart. We're going to hope to see that we see some growth in the other channel, and we'll see how we do. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. I'll talk to you guys all later. Have a fantastic evening. I'll see you guys all tomorrow for the betting talk. Peace.